Welcome to Better Odds Sports Betting. Here's our hosts, Kiev O'Neill and Kyle Hunter.
Well, here we are, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Better Odds Sports Betting, our final show-ish for a while. We're going to take a break after this and, kind of do some shows randomly throughout the summer. But, Kyle, had a fantastic time doing this with you. I mean, we start right at the beginning of football season when you end up, 7-8 months later at the end of basketball season. I want to tell you how great of a insights I've got from you and just how fun it was, and want to thank you for that, man.
Oh man, I share the same thoughts here. We always have a good time doing this. I think both of us enjoy this show a lot, and we help each other with our thoughts on the games and stuff. We've kind of put each other on winners several times. That's always nice to go back and say, oh, I'm glad I got those thoughts, and I hope listeners have been able to get the same from this. Maybe we'll have to do like an NFL draft show or something coming up. We did that last year, and that would go well. So maybe we'll do something like that. But everybody stay tuned. We'll do some one-offs, and we'll be doing free picks. Kiev will do some. I'll do some. We may have some other people on here as well. So we will have things coming up, and Kiev, it won't be that long before it's football season again.
I know it sure sneaks up on you quick, but we got baseball now, man. And I see my Cubs hat here. It's time to start. Not that I'm bullish on the Cubs, by no means am I, and maybe a little bit in the beginning, and they're probably going to be Fade City, but I do have some angles now. I've done some research this week. I was able to catch up a little bit, and I'm not going to give out any premium plays, but I will give you a hint. I am fading Houston in their division this year, and that's all you need to know when it comes to baseball. But you do a great job at baseball too, and we have a good time doing it throughout the summer. So you and I keep going. It's just a little bit easier of a load on both of us with the college winding down. But man, I tell you, I always like to look at the last show and look at what we could have done better. Maybe some stuff that we overreacted on or something throughout the season. And we also like to mention, stuff that I did good throughout the season or towards the end of the season. So, just as a learning experience, none of us are perfect. I think it's nice to point that out and get it out in the open to try to improve on. And I'll go first. I had a terrible start to basketball, Kyle. It was November and December. I think I was down like 40 units in college basketball. It was literally NFL and college football that was keeping me afloat during that time. And I think I jumped the gun a little bit, made too many plays, and did too much guessing. Now, there was bad beats involved, and there always is. And I think I also had some bad luck, which you can't adjust for. But it was a large chunk, and it took me a long time to get it back. Thank goodness this March I'm having one of the best Marches I've had to get that back, and get everything right. But I got to tell you, I think I learned to try to wait a little bit, even if the efficiency sites have numbers, because they're not always right, and play a little bit less of a guessing game and put on a smaller load for me. So that's something I learned, and I'm going to apply that next year. Even though we did research, there's never enough research that can be done for some of the surprises that we get. And so I've learned that's what I'm going to do for next year. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a successful season for me in college basketball. I was just looking at my results here as you were talking. 146 and 114 this year, 56%. A really solid season. And Kiev, both you and I have had a great March. I mean, this has been a really good finish to the season. I'll have my fingers crossed here because, we have a couple plays left, of course, and I hope to end it strong. But it's been a good season nonetheless. One thing that I've done this season is really look closely at what months I've done better at and what months I've been weaker at. Kiev, year after year, I've done the worst in either January or February, the middle of the season. I generally do well at the beginning of the season. I generally do well at the end of the season. Somewhere in the middle of the season is when things go south. I'm going to look into that a little bit more, but February was my worst month this year. And then March has been a really good bounce back. I was up quite a bit, gave almost all of it back, and then I've had a really good run here at the end. One thing I've done better this year is I've played a lot less sides and focused on totals. I'm definitely better at totals than I am sides. The only sides that I seem to have success with is these NIT and smaller, the conference tournaments, the NIT at the end of the season, because we can see motivational edges and things like that. But as far as things that I'll look forward to, I think I will try to pare back the volume even a little bit more in January and February for me, because I've done worse during that time, and then pick the volume back up in March, because there are a lot of angles for those conference tournaments. And then in March Madness, these are matchups that don't usually happen. It's not like, the second matchup of teams that know each other really well in the conferences, which seems to be a bit of a struggle for me. So I'm going to try to make those adjustments. And, overall, really happy with the season. And I'm glad that both of us are having a great March here.
Yeah, totally get it, man. And I guess if we're going to go to what I did good, I think I was able to sniff out some stuff in the February range. Not that I had a great February, but what I was able to do is kind of get on some bubble teams, a little bit earlier and catch a few teams in the market. I think that kind of helped me kind of go above the hump here, finding teams that have the talent, but didn't put it together before, kind of like Memphis. They were very injured, but I knew they had the talent. North Carolina is a great example. A couple other teams I was able to get on, and just try to stay away from some spots where the team might have overachieved throughout the year because they're playing out of their mind, like maybe the Baylors, and weren't quite as good as what they were. So I found success doing that. And another thing I did good, and we both probably did good, is it was when March came. We looked at the arenas, we made our decisions on totals. Well, totals killed me earlier, and I got a lot better at it. But I think looking at the tournament, the first couple rounds were all about the dogs, and obviously the Elite Eight. I didn't do great in the Elite Eight. I only had 4 bets, but I did so well before because I called out the fraudulent teams like the Illinois. When Duke was a dog, I was like, what? I made some smart decisions there. But in the Elite Eight, it's all about the winners, the teams that are ready to play, the ones with the talent. And then you saw St. Peter's get blown out, and obviously Miami eventually got blown out that second half. So something to keep in mind, I think, for me. But that's what I test my success to, is sniffing out the frauds in the tournament. And when I say frauds, not that they shouldn't have made 64 teams. I'm just saying they shouldn't be laying 8, 10, 12 points. So a couple of those money line sprinkles were really nice on St. Peter's as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had some money line sprinkles that really came through for you. Some really big underdogs. Those were really nice plays. And you've talked about it a lot in the past, Kiev, about how, if you're taking that +9 or 10, you got to put a little bit on the money line, because there is enough variance in the college basketball game that those hit fairly often. I think money line sprinkles make more sense in college basketball and college football than they do in a sport like the NBA. Obviously weird things happen in any league, but college basketball, we saw the Peacocks make that run. I mean, we knew they were going to have a spot where they finally ended up getting blown out, but they made people a lot of money before they got blown out. That's for sure. So that's what makes this tournament so much fun too, Kiev, is that, we see these underdogs come through. And yet my wife said to me the other day, and she's totally right. She said, I love these upsets in March Madness. My wife's a big basketball fan. And she says, but now we end up with these 4 teams. There's like, these are the ultimate blue blood teams. But I do think it's going to make it a fun Final Four. I think as far as the season overall, I'm looking forward to kind of breaking down the strengths and weaknesses a bit more. And Kiev and I even, talk off air sometimes, and we're able to help each other out with things that, maybe Kiev's better at, things that I'm better at. It's one of the things that's good about networking with other people in the industry that are sharp. So, shout out also to Sports Wagering University, where we have a community of people that really, we all have our strengths. Some people are really good at NBA. Some people are really good at college basketball. We're going to have more classes on that coming up. I guess that was a shameless plug there, but that's okay. I'm allowed to do that.
Oh yeah.
We have a nice community of people that we can share information with. And I think that that's something that all bettors should do, is look to people that you respect and be okay with sharing some notes and saying, here's what I'm coming up short on. Here's what I'm doing strongly on. And, then you can help each other out. in the end, we're all trying to make money and beat the books.
Yeah, you can really put yourself in a tough situation mentally if you try to grind everything out yourself. Maybe a buddy of yours is really good at a sport, and instead of like you having to go through all the analytics, you kind of see what he likes that day, just cap those plays itself, maybe look at a couple other ones, and then make your decision by sniffing out bad lines. That's a strategy that people use as well. So completely agree. And yeah, Sports Wagering University is something I look forward to becoming very big because I just want to help people beat the books, and so do you, Kyle. And that's why you're one of the creators of this fantastic idea. And I'm just so excited for what it has to bring, just the general public, and throughout the rest of this year, and obviously in the future. So, real excited about that. But getting into these blue bloods, Kyle,
That's good.
I wish that I filled my bracket out before the season started, because even though I know that some of these teams might have been in the same quadrant, I still probably would have had a better bracket with Duke, North Carolina, Villanova, and Kansas in my final four than I did, kind of coming in trying to fade those teams. And yeah, everyone had Kansas in their final four, so that was just I attacked it with Iowa, of course. I think a lot of other people did that, or Auburn, and that's where I really got burned in my bracket. But no surprise here, no blue buds. But I got to tell you, it sure makes for some exciting basketball here, and I think we're going to have a fantastic Final Four. And Kyle, they are going to be playing in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, and if people want to look at the background here, that's the background I actually chose here, and you can see how big it is. This is I have a green screen, obviously, but I'm trying to just kind of get a visual of what these kids are going to see. You can't see the court here, but it's massive, right? The court's so small behind me, so I think this is going to factor into their shooting. Have you done any research on the arena?
I have. There's been 3 games played here, and those were in the Final Four and the championship game in 2012. All 3 of those games went under the total, one by 5.5 points, the others by double digits. So they went under consistently. I believe the final game in that one was Kentucky and Kansas, Kentucky winning. Ohio State was in the Final Four and lost to Kansas, I believe. And then all of those games went under the total. Now, 3 games is tough to make too much out of, as you know. Having said that, it makes sense that this would be a bad shooting backdrop. I mean, as you said, this is a massive football dome, and it's one of the biggest ones there is, and they're going to put a basketball court on it. I can only imagine the people that are sitting at the very top here, Kiev, paying a lot of money to get in. I don't know how they're going to see the game. I mean, it's going to be really hard. I want to go to the Final Four, but if I go to the Final Four, I want to actually be able to see the game. So I think that this is one where it would be an under venue. The thing that makes it challenging here, Kiev, is the odds makers do know that. These numbers are set lower than they would have been in a regular venue. It's hard to find massive value here. We're not going to find one where you or I thought the total should be 10 points off of what it is. It's just not going to happen this time of the year. That's out the window. We try to get small edges to do the best we can. But I do think that this would be an under venue. I want to say real quick before we move on to the Final Four, it's hard to come up with too many great angles for it. There's only so many games, right? It's the Final Four. It's just 2 games. The favorite is 17, 14, and 1 against the spread in the last 32. But favorites of 6 or more have not done well. I believe they're 3 and 6. So it's the short favorites that have done well here in the Final Four. I don't know what that means to this year. I wouldn't bet solely based on that information by any means, but kind of interesting to see. And as you're talking here, Kiev, I'll pull up and see what the over-unders look like in the Final Four too.
Oh, no problem. And I'll share my screen here. This is the DraftKings, and you have Nova pretty much a 4.5 point dog, total at 133, and you have North Carolina at +4, and the total is at 151. So obviously 2 way different perspectives from looking at the totals of these games. You have one that's going to be a slow grinded out game, and one that could be a fast paced game. But that also doesn't mean that they're going to hit a ton of shots. So just wanted to throw that out there. But Kyle, I think the first game is Villanova versus Kansas here at 3:09 Pacific time on Saturday. Hopefully you get all your chores done by then, because these games are going to be fantastic. But I noticed you're wearing your Villanova hat, so I wonder if that's a tell on any angles or direction you're going to go with this game. So why don't you, if you found the information on the arena, go ahead on the total. Otherwise, let's get started.
You know what? The source I'm using is moving slowly, so I'll have this before we're done, but I'm not ready yet. I'll talk about the Nova game first here. I'm wearing a Nova hat because I've had some people say, like, I thought you were an Ohio State fan. Like, I love hats. I'm a hat guy to start with. I don't have near as much hair as Kiev, so I can't just use a great hairstyle or something like that. But no, I'm a hat guy in general. I always have been. Nova, I like them a lot because I love Jay Wright. Jay Wright's a really good coach, also very classy. I tend to go toward the teams and coaches who I think are classy and not, the brash, smart asses and stuff like that. But this is one where I think Nova is so shorthanded. Justin Moore is so important to this team. And Kiev, I thought Colin Gillespie looked like he was really hobbling around a lot in that win over Houston. He was not 100%. Houston was 1 for 20 on threes. I enjoyed the game because I had an under, but it was an ugly game. That's for sure. No doubt about that. Villanova won the game shooting 28.8% from the floor. I mean, you win a game shooting 28.8%. It says either a lot about your defense or the other team's offense or something. I think Villanova is so well coached. In fact, I think Jay Wright is the best coach in the country. I wouldn't take anybody above him. The thing about Nova that I like so much is they don't beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. Now, can Kansas do it? They probably can. I think they're a deserving favorite in this role. What do we make of Kansas, though, Kiev? I mean, Miami completely imploded in the second half of that game. I don't think that was as much Kansas as Miami was jacking bad threes in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock, and it's a layup line going the other way for Kansas. I think if Miami played that way against any of these teams in the Final Four, they would have been blown out in the second half. I think Kansas is a good team. I just don't think that Kansas is a great team. Everybody's going to bet Kansas here. We know that. The numbers are coming in. Everybody's going to bet Kansas. It's easy lay here. I can't bet Kansas, Kiev. If I had to bet a side here, I would take Nova. I like the under better than I like a side in this game. As far as first half or full game, this is a tough one. First half under, I believe, is 62, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a pretty low number for a first half number on a Kansas game. Kansas is good offense. This is the Superdome. This is going to be tough shooting backdrop. Does that mean that they couldn't shoot lights out? Of course they could shoot lights out. It's one game sample size, but I like the under some here in this one. I think that it depends on if Gillespie is going to play well here in this game. If he plays like he did last game, they're not going to get away with this one like they did against Houston. Houston's not good offensively. Kansas is much better. I would lean toward Nova in this one plus the points. I wonder how high this line will get. I'm curious your thoughts on that as well. But under and Nova are my leans in this one, Kiev.
Yeah, and I totally get that, and I agree with it. Now, I think we speak for everybody that we're bummed out about Justin Moore. I mean, Gillespie last year and now Moore this year, right? Moore was hobbling around, or sorry, Gillespie, like you said, was hobbling around, but Moore was completely out with that torn Achilles. You couldn't even hide that. Obviously, a lot of college teams would like people not to know their injury status, but that's just such a bad injury. He's not playing for months, and probably 6 months, but he was the leading scorer, second leading scorer on the team, 14.8 points per game, but he was the minutes leader at 34.8 minutes, Kyle. Most metric sites with Justin Moore in actually have Kansas only a 1 point favorite. You look at the Ken Palms, you look at Torvik, you look at Haslametrics, it all has Kansas as a 1 point favorite on a neutral team. And here we are sitting at 4.5, right? That's a big reaction right there. In my opinion. And this is kind of where you have to deep dive into it, man. This is kind of where you have to find out where the rubber meets the road, because you also have to think that this is Jay Wright here. He has a good freshman, seventh guy and he's a guard. The 7th and 8th players coming in for Nova are both guards. So that's a good thing, right? It's kind of a replacement. Now they do play on a 6-man rotation. So they're going to be with, the 5 guys that get the minutes, but that doesn't mean that they're young kids, coming in this game. Jordan Logino is not going to have a decent game. He's playing for Villanova for a reason. And these are the kind of the situations that I like getting on a team. A lot of people forget that when players get injured, it rallies the team the next game. It gives them a bump the next game, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if Gillespie, if healthy, shoots out of his mind this game for a while, right? But at the same time, it's Jay Wright, and he's smart. He's very smart. And I'm going to show you what he's going to do. Let me share my screen here. Kansas played a couple teams, right, and lost. And, they happen to be, this is 2012, Texas teams. TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, and obviously that Kentucky stinker that they had. You know what all these have in common, Kyle? All were under 69 possessions. And the bigger blowouts were actually a lot less. Jay Wright knows this. If any defense can take the rhythm off an offense, and there's only 20 minutes of playing time in these games, obviously anything can happen if that's the situation. All it takes is Villanova to be hot. And I tend to want to back those kind of teams. But at the same time, matchup-wise, Kyle, I hate the fact that Villanova shoots so many three-pointers. They rank 9th in adjusted 3 points attempts, while Kansas, looking here, ranks 8th on defense. But that also tells me that not only the arena is going to be very intimidating, it tells me that Kansas is going to stop them from scoring as well. Even if it's a slow game, Kansas is going to stop them from scoring. I like how Nova can get near proximity scoring away from Kansas. Nova, one of the top defenses. And if you look at the coaches, I'm going to give a slight edge to Jay Wright over Bill Self. Now, Self is a great coach and very, very good at tournaments, right? They've won plenty of tournaments under Self, but the fact that Self played here in 2012 with a completely different team and lost, I don't know how you want to quantify that, but probably not even worth looking at. But I'm going to give the coaching edge to Jay Wright, and obviously the free throws for Villanova is absolutely fantastic. And if it's a free throw type game, that makes me worry even more for Kansas. Now, obviously Justin Moore is out, but the rest of the team can shoot free throws. 83% free throw shooting, man. That is absolutely fantastic. Look at the pace of Villanova. They slow this game down and dumb it down. They actually have a legitimate shot here. And don't think those Kansas kids are not going to be intimidated when they get into this game, when they see this massive arena. I am actually going to make a play on the first half under, and I gave it away at 62.5, and it's at 62, and I still like it. I think it's going to be a crawl. I think Jay Wright's smart enough to know that he's not going to get in a shooting match. He's going to look at what the Texas schools did against Kansas and the way they won. I really like the first half under, and I'll tell you this, if the public keeps fading this injury and this thing gets to 5.5, I'm also going to be a player on Villanova, Kyle.
I like the first half under. No argument from me. Nova knows to slow this game down. I think the only thing that beats something like that is if they are making their threes. I mean, clearly Villanova, if they're making their threes like crazy, this game could be a lot higher scoring, even with the slow tempo. But I'm pretty confident Villanova is going to slow this game down. Like you said, Jay Wright is smart. He knows what he needs to do here. Unless they get way behind early, Nova's going to play at a really slow pace in this game. And as far as the side, I think we probably will see a 5 in this game. I don't know about 5.5. I think 5 is likely to come here. There's a lot of money on Kansas. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, Kiev. There's a lot of money comes in on these Final Four games. There's going to be, we're talking here on Thursday afternoon, this game being Saturday night. There's going to be a lot of bets placed between now and the game. So this game could move quite a bit. I would agree. If it gets to 5, I have to put something at least small on Villanova. I like the first half under. I do like the full game under as well.
Awesome. Great stuff. Well, I'm glad we're in agreement here. And I really believe in 5.5. And I'm just going to tell you, there's just going to be too many public bettors coming in. A lot of people think the Super Bowl line moves. The Super Bowl line doesn't move as much necessarily because the narrative is much less powerful in the NFL. I think the narrative in itself with the injury is going to have a lot more traction. So I'm going to be very interested. Maybe the sharper, larger bettors, and it would take a conglomerate to knock that thing down from 5.5 back down to 4.5. But man, I think you might see some 5.5s popping, and I'll be real excited if that happens because this could be a situation where you're feeling pretty good during the game. All right, well, great stuff, man. Off to a fantastic start. Let's get into the next blue blood team, and well, blue blood matchup: Duke versus North Carolina. Man, I am excited for this game just because the names of these schools, and I was shocked to hear that they've never met in a tournament before. How is that possible, man?
It's crazy. It's hard to believe. You would have thought at some point they would have met. And I mean, you couldn't write it much better, right? Drama wise, that this is their first tournament matchup. Coach K's last year, and it's in the Final Four. Neither one of us are Duke fans, but Duke is a big draw. This Duke team's been playing great. I mean, Kiev said it a couple games ago when they were playing against Texas Tech that he liked Duke in that game. Duke was making shots. I think Texas Tech played good in that game. Really, I do. Duke was just a little bit better. They were very good in that game. There are a lot of things that are tough handicaps about this game, and I might go a little bit more in depth here about this one. Real quick before I get into it, I will say too that the Final Four totals, it took a lot of work for me to get to this, for it to just get to Kiev at 16 and 16 over, 16 unders.
Okay.
Nothing exciting. I was a little bit pissed off when I saw there's nothing exciting there. But actually, there have been some overs the last couple of years, which has brought it back. The under had done well before that. That's on the closing line, and the number usually gets bet down in these. So we'll see what happens this year. But UNC, 11th in momentum, has Haslametrics. I mean, I don't think anybody watching would have doubted that in any way. If anything, I would have thought North Carolina might even been higher in momentum. This North Carolina team is peaking at the right time in a big way. Baycott, Love, Manic's been playing really well. They underachieved much of the season. This is a team that was busy losing to teams like Pitt at home in the regular season. They had no business losing games like that. They had the 28th strength of schedule, Duke 59th. It's interesting to me that there's that much of a difference. I would have guessed that they would be about the same. Duke played so well the last couple games. They were almost about to lose to Michigan State in the round of 32. And Michigan State really wasn't very good. And then all at once Duke flipped a switch, and they haven't looked back since. They've been tremendous since then. Banchero's a great player. Williams is underrated for Duke, definitely. Roach is a good player who's hit some big shots too. I think Duke was at least somewhat fortunate that Gonzaga wasn't the team that they played last game, because Arkansas didn't have the firepower. I know Gonzaga has been overvalued, and sometimes before, when I say Duke is fortunate that they didn't have to play Gonzaga, people think I mean that Gonzaga would have automatically won. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying it would have been a tougher game, and Kiev, I would have liked to see that game, because honestly, the Duke-Arkansas game wasn't a great game. But this should be a great game. These two teams, UNC ranks 356th not in momentum, in consistency at Haslametrics, which is crazy. I mean, I guess that's not too surprising, that given that they've been blown out by some bad teams and they have some great wins as well. They've played well away from home. Duke's played really well away from home. This Duke team, their biggest edge is 3-point field goal percentage offense. North Carolina struggled against the three. North Carolina's biggest advantage is rebounding here. North Carolina crushes everybody on the glass consistently. So can Duke hold their own there? And Kiev, the question is the Duke offense as good as what we've seen lately? Because if they are, then the other teams are in big trouble in the Final Four, because they have been so good offensively. The shot quality stats would say that Duke has been a bit overvalued here of late. Offensively, this is a team where Duke is clearly very good offensively. And I'm going to share my screen here real quick if I can. Duke. So this is Duke. You see the last few games. Duke has put up 78 on Fullerton, should have been 75 according to shot quality. 85 on Michigan State, should have been 73. 78 should have been 79. And then Shot Quality believes they should have lost to Arkansas, should have only scored 68 points. I know some people get upset when they see the shot quality numbers. I'm not necessarily married to the fact that the game should have finished exactly at that, but I do think this is very innovative stats. The matchup stats are fantastic here. While I'm on it, you see Duke, their biggest weakness, I'm going to highlight it here, transition defense. That is not a good weakness to have against North Carolina. We know they're going to run all the time. And there are so many things about this handicap that, like I said, are very difficult. I see this as one where, we have to go with our gut a bit in this game, Kiev. This is one where we saw two completely different games when these two teams played each other. I'm going to trust the Superdome to help out here in this one. I'm going to take the first half under, and I'm going to hold my nose when I bet this one because I'm not excited to bet a North Carolina and Duke under. That is for sure. It makes me very nervous. If I was going to bet a side here, I would bet North Carolina plus the points. And the reason is I think it's going to be a very close game, go all the way down to the wire. If I think that, I have to take points. Do I think Duke will probably win in the end? That would be my lean, but I think I would take the points here. Kiev, what are your thoughts on this one?
All right. No, great stuff, Kyle. Andrew, thank you for chiming in here. He feels like it's almost like planned for Coach K. I think Andrew might be a North Carolina fan, but he tells me how upset will Duke fans be if they ruin it for Coach K. I'd say pretty dang upset, but at the same time that North Carolina fans will be that much happy too. It's just that much of a fantastic rivalry. If you're not a Duke fan, you're rooting for North Carolina. Let's just get that out of here and put that right in front. I mean, this is gonna. If you're a college basketball fan, you have to watch this game. There's just no if, ands, or buts about it. Don't get to your couch, relax. This is the game of games. Might even be a better game than the finals. Who knows? But I gotta tell you, let's get into some of the stats here. I mean, Duke visited North Carolina earlier, as we know, right? And then they blew the heck on North Carolina. But this adds a little bit to the rivalry, Kyle. North Carolina is the only team in the ACC that didn't give Coach K a salute and a goodbye gift, right? And so that just adds some spice to this Final Four matchup. But then obviously North Carolina had their number in Cameron Indoor in Coach K's last game and beat them in their house. That was tough. I was cringing the whole time watching. I was kind of smirking because I'm not a big Duke fan, as you know, but having Coach K had to do the speech after that. But the last game they lost, that was crazy. But hey, you know what? Everything is paid now for Duke because they are back in the Final Four, which is more important in my book here. Now, Krzyzewski is 50-46 against North Carolina since he started coaching in 1981. I think Dean Smith is the only coach that had a Krzyzewski's number. He is 24-14, but obviously since he left, Krzyzewski has had the upper hand against Roy Williams. And Roy Williams retired last year for Hubert Davis to come in and coach. So a little bit of history there. He's Krzyzewski 36-22 since Dean Smith's retirement against them. So this is a close rivalry, obviously, and probably the best two teams in college basketball over the past 20 years, I think you can say, even maybe going all the way back to the UCLA days. But anyway, this is going to be fantastic. And there's two ways of looking at this game. Kyle, we're going to look at North Carolina. Are you going to use their full season of stats against Duke? Because if you do that, then they are a 4-point dog. And that's where the metrics say they're a 4-point dog. But according to guys like Jeff Sagarin, he likes to look at it from a recency. And I'm going to share my screen here and look at Sagarin. Just got to hit the share button. And give me 1 second here. Oh, I have to stop screen first. There we go. So you see that the recency, Carolina is a 92.43 power rate, and Duke is a 91.22. So if you look at what have you done for me lately, which is what Sagarin's great at in all the sports, you actually have North Carolina favored in this game. I think that's very important to look at, Kyle. I think a lot of people are missing that. And I think a lot of people are missing the fact that North Carolina is going to be able to stand up to this team inside, right? What's interesting in this matchup, Kyle, is that neither team is that great guarding each other from three, right? Duke ranks 68th in the nation, adjusted 3-point defense against North Carolina, number 22. Duke's number 28 shooting threes. North Carolina, 108th in defense, right? But this is the full season. Now, Duke, according to here, shows a near proximity, ranking 5th in the nation to North Carolina, ranking 39th. But I'm still going to go by the recent, since the Pittsburgh loss, and how different this North Carolina Tar Heels team has looked. And I personally think that North Carolina is as good as Duke. And coming into this game, that's just going to make it more exciting. Now, you like the first half under, Kyle, and I got to tell you, man, I have to disagree with you even on that. And I hate to do it because you certainly could be right. And metrically, really, that's the smart play when you look at a dome like this. But here's something that shouldn't shock anybody. At free throw attempts allowed per 100 trips up court, Duke ranks number 1 on defense, and UNC ranks number 2. And I'm talking about 358. What are the chances, Kyle? Well, some people might be like blaming the officials, and some people might say they don't foul a lot when they kind of come in. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but this is my worry. I don't think these teams, I think they're just going to be kind of hustling, and they're not going to be playing a ton of defense against each other. I think they're worried about getting in foul trouble. So that concerns me a little bit for the under. The fact that they allow threes, the fact that near proximity could be easy shots for them, the fact that North Carolina plays a very fast pace. Let me bring that up. The ranking 39th in adjusted tempo in the nation worries me a little bit. And Duke is more of a middle of the road team. But Kyle, out of the last 6 matchups, the over went 6-0, and the last game went to 175 points, and that was the one in Cameron. Even the one where North Carolina got blown out, before North Carolina kind of got good, it still went to 154 points. So that worries me a little bit, and I'm not sure what the officials are going to do, but I think this 151 total might be a good idea if you like middling to get it right now, because I can see a lot of people just publicly taking the over. There's no way I could take an under in this game, but you can set yourself up for a half buyback on a middle and hedge your risk a little bit there. Hopefully get a nice big payout if this thing gets out of hand. So that's one angle I'm looking at here. But just from the matchup standpoint at what North Carolina has done recently, I think there's more pressure on Duke, Kyle. I like what Caleb Love's been doing. I like what Armando Bacot's been doing. I know Williams is a great matchup for them, for Duke, Banchero, but I just think that North Carolina is that matchup that's going to give them fits. This is way too many points, in my opinion. I am playing North Carolina plus the 4.5, Kyle. I already played it, and it might go back to 4.5. It's at 4 right now, but I think that's a side in this game. But the total, I wouldn't have any problem with somebody taking over 151 just because you might get a 153, 154 come game time. It would definitely take a sharp hit to keep that thing low. What are your thoughts, Kyle?
Well, I want to make it clear. I don't love the first half under. This is not a big bet of mine or anything. Like I said, I have to hold my nose when I bet it. And, I get nervous thinking about rooting for an under between these two teams. So not a big bet of mine. I just can't bet over that high of a number in the Superdome. This game means everything to the two teams. And I do want to point out something we haven't said yet that I've heard other places, Kiev, that I can't believe that some people would use this as a reason for betting this game. They say, well, Duke has the motivational edge because they just lost at home to North Carolina. And nobody has a motivational edge in the Final Four. Everybody cares about this game. There is no, this team might not. And it's North Carolina and Duke. Both teams want to win badly. North Carolina would love nothing more than to ruin it for Coach K and Duke. You know that. I mean, they would absolutely love that. At the same time, Duke wants to get them back, and they want to get to the finals and win this thing for Coach K. I think both teams want it equally bad. It's whoever executes here. I just think it's a poor narrative to have to say, well, they just lost at home. So you have to bet Duke in this game. If you like Duke, you want to like them for a different reason than that. And as far as the line here, I assume, Kiev, that means that you probably do like the money lines here on this, at least somewhat, at plus 160, 165, right?
100% sprinkle that thing. This is probably going to be a very come to the last second game, and what one team might be up by 1 point, the other team scores, then they're up by 1 point, the other team misses, and there's a foul. I have Duke by 3 points here, guys. I have Duke 79, North Carolina 76. That's my final score in this game. And just depending upon how the kids are going to react to it, I just see a lot of hustle. You might even see some sloppy play too, just because, they're trying to get up and down the court fast. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But Duke, I have the edge for winning just because Coach K against Hubert Davis. You have to give the respect to Coach K there. But I just think that 4.5 is way too many points.
I think so too. And as someone who is not a Duke fan, I might put a little bit of something on North Carolina just for fun here. That'd be a pizza money bet for me. Kiev, can we talk a little bit about what the matchups might look like in the final game, what the point spread might be? So if we go by favorites, then you'd go Kansas and Duke as the most likely matchup here. If Kansas played Duke, depending on how those two games go, would depend on what the line would be, obviously. But I think Duke might be favored by 1 point.
We had the lines.
Okay.
I'll share my
I'd like to see
screen.
it.
So, a Duke versus Kansas Duke would be favored by 1 point.
Nice.
And North Carolina versus Kansas, Kansas would be favored by 4 points. So, I mean, in this situation, I would probably take Kansas against Duke. But at the same time, 4 points when I have Duke and North Carolina pretty much power rated the same in my mind and what they've done and how they match up, I would probably take North Carolina. I would say that this should be probably a pick 'em game. I think Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke are all as good as each other almost, and maybe a slight edge to Kansas, but it's tough. It's really tough. Might not even bet this game personally, but it's important that we talk about it because we're obviously not going to have another show. It's going to watch this matchup be like Villanova or something, right? Villanova coming into this. But if Villanova makes it this far, I'm fading Villanova because of the injury. I always fade the next game after the injury, not the game right after, but the game after that. So I would probably be on the other team playing Villanova no matter what. But and I'm very unfortunate too for Nova, like I said, for that injury. But I'll take the dog above 3 and pretty much anything minus the Nova.
I think my favorite of these would be North Carolina plus the points against Kansas. +4 to me is too many points against Kansas for North Carolina. And somebody would say, well, North Carolina just beat Duke. That was a massive game for them. Then it'd be the title game. They're going to be playing motivated for that game too. So I think North Carolina should probably be, no more than +1 against a team like Kansas. And I think what you said a minute ago is the reason why. I think those stats from November and December and January mean nothing right now for North Carolina. So if you're using the full game stats, you're underrating North Carolina. Hopefully we do see a North Carolina-Kansas line come out at +4 and we have that game because I would like that one quite a bit. That would be my favorite of the bunch.
Okay. Yep. Can't disagree. I was looking for this. Andrew had a question for us. How do we feel about a margin 1-10 win for Duke at +172 and then take UNC plus the points? I mean, it's a cute way to look at it. I mean, would you take UNC on the money line? Because I think that's what you mean, because why don't you have plus money on both of it? You're getting plus money on them winning between 0 and 10 points essentially, and you're getting UNC on the money line. So, I mean, that's definitely a good way to look at it. I don't think this game will get out of hand. So, I think it's a pretty good approach. I like it, Andrew. I really do. I think this is one of those games there's gonna be no bigger lead than 10 points. Personally, I think that's a great way to look at it. I love the prop there. I also heard of a prop with Abaji for the Kansas game shooting over 1.5 threes. I think it's less than -200. making 1.5 threes. I could see Abaji making at least 2 3-pointers. So anything under minus 200, I would lean to that prop as well. So not a market I was able to study yet because not a lot of props are out yet. But I'm going to be keying in on a few props just to have a little extra fun, coming in here. Yeah, real cute, Andrew says. So thanks for chiming in. But I love what you're thinking there, man.
If I did that, I would take UNC on the money line and take Duke at the margin of 1-10, just because I'd want plus money on each side. I know that it'd be tempting if you take UNC plus the points, then you might be able to hit both sides, but that's tricky. I don't like putting myself at a minus line and then the plus 172. I would definitely want the plus money on each side. And also, you got to be careful betting too much on something like that. This is still college basketball and variance. I mean, somebody could win by 20 points. We think it's going to be a close game. I do think it'll be a close game, but, a blowout wouldn't be stunning. We've seen plenty of those. So I wouldn't bet huge money on anything like that, but I don't hate it. I think plus money on each side is a good way to go there.
No, definitely very, very creative. Kyle, man, we went long, but we always do. And I got to tell you, it's been, like I said earlier, it's been great having this show with you. And we're going to be back probably for the draft and obviously sprinkled throughout the summer. But you do a lot throughout the summer. You get really focused in on it. The NBA, you do baseball, lots of totals. You're fantastic at it. Where could our viewers and listeners get your information?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've actually had a really good season in the NBA so far this year. Low volume. Won last night with the Warriors and Suns under. I've won 6 plays in a row overall, and in the NCAA tournament, I'm 10-2 thus far. So it's been a really successful March. I kind of hate to see March end, but I'm also looking forward to better weather here in Ohio. Just some brutal weather here for spring break for the kids this week. Kiev, I love baseball as well. Baseball is a fun season. Things are a bit slower for handicappers than they are in some of the other seasons. I've done well in baseball in the past. You can check out my baseball season package, which I'm going to be putting a discount on here later this week. My MLB, NBA, you can get the rest of college basketball, obviously. Over at huntersportspicks.com, you can sign up for the free picks newsletter there as well. Head over to sportswageringu.com like we talked about earlier. There's going to be lots of good stuff coming up. If you like the NBA, Clive Bixby, Chris Farley, Alex Christensen, Noops on Twitter are going to be teaching the NBA class coming up here on April 5th. I would highly recommend you check that one out. You can sign up for that over there at Sports Wagering U. That class is free. So sign up for that. Check out. Those guys all know the NBA really well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one myself. And Kiev, I've enjoyed doing this show. I didn't realize we've talked as long as we have here today, but that's how it always is, right? We always say, we won't talk too long. And then you get the two of us talking. We have a lot of thoughts, and it's always fun. Thanks again.
Oh, man. Awesome job. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys check him out. And I've been fortunate since day one of the tournament, been 43-27 against the spread, over under, up 36 units. And, so saw the board well. I'm feeling great about baseball, and UFC has always been my top sport. So I'm going to have a lot of fun this summer. But what I also do for premium subscribers is I try to find some value in the futures market when it comes to college football and for the NFL. I'm on top of the line move, and a lot of those lines that come out early are very weak. I'm actually getting to work on football right away here, and very excited for that. So if you guys want to check me out at the Odds Breakers and become a member and support us, really very much appreciate that. And it costs money to do what we do, so we definitely appreciate you guys helping us out. So with that, Kyle, I want to wish everybody the best of luck this weekend. Make sure you enjoy these massive games. Don't go overboard here. These lines are pretty tight, but obviously, have a fantastic time watching. Everybody take care.
Thank you for watching Better Odds Sports Betting.